I think that theater, in a way, is a way of learning life. I've been training as an architect because I was very fond of opera. It's one of the top in the world because of their teachers, because of their tradition. I've been working in London because I did 1 year of university at the UCL in London. It was fun, but at the same time, it was a responsibility because I, I I was asked to do immediately professional drawings, and so it was a very strong beginning. Basically, I built my skills, and I was ready after 4 or 5 years. I was ready to do it by my own. We are used to see all these work of arts, so basically we grow with beauty and with a lot of different historical work of arts, masterpieces. You have to be respectful of the of the culture, and so this is very important to know where it will be performed. You can have a wonderful fabric, but if you don't know how to light it, it can be nothing.
TV Sunday, the power of truth.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome one of the wonderful stage designer, architect, light designer, and costume designer who have been working s- since a lot of years in a stage and orchestra. It's my great pleasure to welcome one of the wonderful personalities from Italy who is serving this art industry for more than a couple of decades. Let me welcome Massimo Pazzi. It's a great pleasure to welcome you, sir. How are you? How are you being today?
I'm greeting from Venice.
Venice, oh, wonderful city, beautiful. Probably the largest number of tourists visit your city in Italy.
Well, with Rome.
So tell me something about that. How you ended up being in architecture? What inspired you to be in this industry?
Well, actually, I've been working since I was 20, so it's almost 30 years, and I've been training as an architect because I was very fond of opera. I was studying also singing. I'm a tenor actually, so I did also musical studies, and I choose architecture because mostly in Venice we have a very good university, and it's one of the top in the world because of their teachers, because of their tradition, and so I thought it was the best way to develop many different disciplines. And so I didn't do something more specific because I think architecture, in the way we in Italy we always think about architect. The architect is a man that has different skills. Basically, it was the best school for me, and I used a lot in my work as a theater designer because of architecture, because you have a very good technical background, and so I think it's important to have you know talent, and so maybe to be artistic, creative, but at the same time you need to control everything, the process. And so to be an architect, it gives you the skill to be technical, to know the materials, to prepare the drawings in a very technical way. And I think this is very good for the atelier, for the people that has to build the things. And so I think it was maybe a little tough because of course there are people that are not architect and they do opera, they do theater, and they do
Yeah, yeah.
designer.
So
But
you started your work in 1998, and you're working in London as well. So
yes.
tell me something that how was your first working experience? How difficult was it? How memorable was it?
Well, I've been working in London because I did 1 year of university at the UCL in London, and so it was my fourth year of university, and so this was very important. And also it was I had the chance to do an apprenticeship in the Royal Opera House, Covent Garden. I started before because I started when I was almost 20, so it was my my first year of university, and it was as usual. You start working as an assistant.
Right.
So I had the chance to make some sketches for a very important set designer, and I just basically started the first day, and it was quite shocking because you don't really know what you're going to do, and you have to follow the hints, and so it was quite stressful because I learned while I was doing it. So I was not training to do it, but I learned very fast, and it was fun, but at the same time it was a responsibility because I was asked to do immediately professional drawings, and so it was a very strong beginning.
One thing I want to know that you have a long-term collaboration with the Pierre Luigi Pizza as
Yeah,
assistant director and as set designer as well. So, what kind of project was that? Because it was your initial experience. You were not much demanded in the industry, but you work with that prestigious organization. What kind of combination and how you get response working with them?
I was collaborating with the Teatro La Fenice, that is the major opera house in Venice and one of the most known in Italy and the world. And so when Mr. Pizzi wanted an assistant, he had an emergency. They thought I could be good, so the theater gave my name to him, and so I started with him because it was a work of 4 days, and so this was the first time, and then he was happy about my job, and we started doing other things, but just from the let's say the project phase. After that, after 2 or 3 years, i I felt it was the moment to start to work in the theater, and so I started to do assistant to direction. So basically it was not just the project, but it was the production process, and this was really different, really demanding, because you stay almost 9 10 12 hours in the theater, and you have to work with the singers. And so this was also very good because I studied already music, and so I could read the partitura of music, and you can the score, and basically you can manage all the movement of the chorus. And after that I started also to look at the dress rehearsal, makeup rehearsal, and after that basically I built my skills, and I was ready. After 4 or 5 years I was ready to do it by my own.
I want to connect one thing that I was in FIFA World Cup 2022 in Qatar, where I saw probably the best opening ceremony that ever FIFA had. And
Uh-huh.
when I came to know that the creative director from Italy, Marco Bellic, was the
Yeah,
director of that event, it's just so magnificent. And I saw his resume. I went through the Google and find out that he is the one who made numbers of beautiful events, directed like Olympic Games and so much of great world events. So you are also on that path. That's what I want to connect. You are expert in lighting, you are expert in costume design, you're expert in set designing, architecture, so much on it. So what is the thing that Italy has such a wonderful creative personality? They magnify the stage. What is that in Italy?
we are used to see all these work of arts. So basically we grow with beauty and with a lot of different historical work of arts, masterpieces, and mostly in Venice, for example. You also know a lot about history, mythology, and what is natural then is to connect different disciplines and make it a unique piece.
When there is a concept about when there is concept about a stage performance and the organizer describe they need this kind of say designing, what visualize comes to your mind first?
I usually do opera, so I work with opera, not theater. And so you start with the music, so I know very well the operatic repertoire. So it depends immediately from the opera. So this is the first hint. So you listen to the music and you start to imagine, to have visual uh, images, and then from that you find your own interpretation. I mean, you can choose to make it modern, to follow the history, timing. It depends. I mean, it depends from the opera. It depends also from the audience, because I work in Shanghai, I work in China, I work in Korea, in the United States as well, and it depends from the audience, because there are some kind of visual asset that are not good for all the publics. So you have to be respectful of the of the culture, and so this is very important to know where it will be performed. And after that, of course, everything start building. I start immediately from the stage design, because the stage is the space, and then when you have the right space with the right colors, the right materials, then you can put inside the people and you can imagine their clothes, their costumes. And then after that you have the set, you have the historic moment, and then you will do the third part, that is with the real people. So you have to work with the singers, and you have to explain them how to move in that space, how to dress, and how to move with the costumes.
You work more than 100 companies. Those are really reputed in around the world globally. Which one is the best memory you have working with?
Has been the Royal Opera House in London, and it was in Spain, Teatro Real di Madrid. In Seoul, I've been working in Sejong, that is maybe one of the biggest stage for opera, because it's more than 50, 60 meters
Oh,
deep, and
amazing.
25 wide. So it's you have 4,000 people of public. So this is one of the biggest. But also in Shanghai, in
Sangha.
Beijing, I've been working in the new theater done for the Olympics, and I've been working also with Andrea Bocelli in Malta, and this was a different production.
Can you tell me something about your experience as a professor in University of Venice? You were a professor there too.
I've been teaching scenografia, history of set designing, and also um, uh, philosophy of set designing. Because when you have to teach the history of the theater, that it goes from Greek time till our time, is more than 2,000 years of set designing and theater. And this is very important, because every period is not just a product of art. The way people see the community, so it changes a lot. So when, for example, from the kings and the prince, we shift to the republic world, the theater changed, because you have to understand that the public changes in the time. So you cannot reproduce an opera with the same set that were done 100 years.
Yeah,
So it's more complex. So in the
more
university,
complex.
I try to transmit this complexity.
It's a more hard, more hard. You cannot repeat that.
Yeah,
If anything wrong, even you don't have chances to improve it, correct it,
yeah, absolutely.
because it's on public.
Yeah.
So, have you any bad experience of that? Like you could not completely, saw what it was in your mind.
In a film production, in the cinema, a process is mechanical, because then you give to the public a specific product that has been revised. And but in opera, it's a live performance, and so we are always, every performance, for example, you have a production, you have 8 performances, you can have maybe you have 2 different casts that sing one day and the other day. So every day something can happen. One people of the chorus faint, or can be, for example, one of the main soloists is Hill, so they have to call in the night another one is arriving in the morning, and then you have to put the costumes, and then sometimes you have the time to prepare him, sometimes you have no time. So
No.
I did I mean, just once it was very dramatic because we had a very last moment, and so the singer that came was not able to do it by heart, but he has to read it. I mean, it's not nice, but at the same time you save the performance, and
Mhm.
this is opera, so you have to accept that the singers are human, and
Yeah.
so they can have problems.
Singer are human, yes. And let me tell you one thing, that you work as a complete producer in 2002 for a Roland production and other magnificent productions, some like Norman, Oleg Jenkaja, Deva, a lot of
Yes,
globally
I
famous
did.
production companies.
I did a lot of Baroque
Yeah.
opera. That it
Yeah.
means that they are from 17th century, and this is very different because you have no chorus, and
Mhm.
you have sometimes five, six singers, and they sing a lot, and they sing very difficult arias.
In the same time, the live costume design is really important, and that's a very hard job, but you are specific on it. Tell me something about the costume designing.
Well, the costume basically is like a dress, so you have to think that you have to put people at their, I mean, they have to be comfortable. So sometimes when you do the sketch, you always think to have a very thin women, but actually the singers, now it's easy to find normal people, but in the past, past years, all the operatic singers is usually they are very fat, because there is this idea that the fat singer has more voice, is more relaxed, is more healthy. Actually it's not, because they cannot move, they get tired very soon. So now the young generation, they understood that it's not necessary to be fat to be a good singer, so you can have normal people. But I still have some sopranos that are very fat, and so when you have to dress them, you have to make them beautiful, and you have to study the body, you have to try to improve the body, so it's a sort like to make a fashion show.
But it's a very challenging. How do you do that? Can you tell me how?
Well, because for example, you have to hide everything that
Oh,
is not nice, and is not nice for the public. But I mean, you have to make the singer comfortable and to help her to feel beautiful. So sometimes they know that they are not beautiful, they are ugly, because they, in the normal life, they just think about the voice, so they don't take care of the hairs of the body. And so when you make up, you put a wig, or maybe you put you show them they can be
yeah.
beautiful.
Lighting and
Yeah.
the set combination is something great which magnify the events. Like you are expert on it, master on it. So what architecture was the thing that you started your career, and later you are expert in custom designing, set designing for opera, and the lighting is one of the major source to make glorify the stage. Tell me something, that what is the importance of light combination to the stage and to the artist?
Light is what allows us to see. So basically, the light is the master of the whole show, because you can have a wonderful fabric, but if you don't know how to light it, it can be nothing. Or you can have a very normal fabric, but if you know how to put the light, it can become the most astonishing clothes in the world. So I like to think about the transformation of the materia. So everything has to be lighted in the stage with the perfect direction. So you have two things: the
Mhm.
color of light, that is not just light, it can
Color,
be
yeah.
white,
Yeah.
be cold, it can be, And then the directions. The lighting of Caravaggio is wonderful because it's a side light. It's very dramatic, and it creates a depth in the stage. So the history of art helped me a lot in finding the best image and the best lighting. One thing that is very important now, the system of lighting has changed dramatically in the last years. So now, for example, we have all LED lighting that are very powerful. They're all with computer, so you can move them. And also, I start using now big LED wall
Hmm.
that are very good. Instead of a painting
Yeah,
wall, for example, you
yeah.
can have a moving effect.
I know that how you started your career and which are the biggest companies you work. And regarding your experience, you mostly work in the European city and as well as in the United States or Asia as well. You work in Osaka, you Japan, Tokyo as well. So, what is the experience working with a different group of audience, like audience in Venice or audience in London, might be different taste, or Russia or Paris, or working with the Japanese people?
For example, just a little episodes. When you do Tosca and you have at the end of the applause Scarpia, the baritone, that is the bad one. He comes out. In Italy, we clap because if he sings well. But in United States, for example, they say boo boo, not because it's bad, but because
No,
the character is bad. So in Italy, it couldn't be that. But
that's the
when
culture.
you are
That's
there, you have to know that the public has different way of reacting.
which city is the best audience you grab when while performing? Which city you must want to do time and again
Well,
or repeat?
well, I like Spain.
How many group of people you have now? How big is your company?
I mean, I'm hired by the company, so the theater decide the singers, the conductor. They have their own orchestra. They have their own chorus. So basically, I collaborate with them, and then I do the show inside the theater. But I'm a guest.
And how much do you charge for an event?
It depends. It
Depend.
depends because it's very flexible. Because sometimes when you go, for example, very far, you have the hotel, you have the flight, you have they take you with the car. So it's a different. When it, I mean, you have to stay there 1 month because it's not possible to go and backwards. But when, for example, we go in Italy, it's more flexible. It's a shorter time, so
Yeah.
it's not there is
So
not
depend on your expenses as well. You know.
no. Yes, but usually we are, I mean, I usually ask for all the expense, so they give me an hotel. Also in Italy, they give me the travel.
If
And then
I need to invite you for a show in New York City, how much maybe your fee?
ah
Maybe
well, but it's not easy.
not
But
easy.
after all my career, usually you go from 40 to 50,000 euros.
Okay.
Yeah, this
Okay.
this is the one production cost.
You are
So
very expensive. You are
no,
very expensive.
because
You are
because
expert in this industry, so
because
you deserve the
I
money
do three
because
I
of
do
your
three
expertise.
I do three things
Yeah.
because I do the project, the costumes, the sometimes you have to pay three people.
Yeah, yeah,
And so I do everything. I stay in the theater 12 hours.
yes, yes.
But so it's, I mean, is that, but I love that because
No, it's all
no
because of
I,
your skill and expertise. Yes, you have
but
been
also I know
working.
the stage, I know how to put the light, so I
Of
don't
course, of
want to
course.
do it.
You are master on it. You have been working like 30 years in the industry, so you deserve it. And at the end, what you would like to tell about this career?
We live on the history, so people comes to see the Colosseum, and so this is a cultural attraction, and opera is a performing cultural attraction. I think that I made art the main meaning for my life. And I think that theater, in a way, is a way of learning, life and learning how to live, because also theater is a sort of life in a fiction. So I think that I would like to have more and more people going to listen to opera, going to theater, going to see live performances, because this is very good for our brains, for our soul, and for the community. So I think art is a really blessing for any culture.
TV Sunday, the power of truth.